What's up, everybody? How the hell might y'all be doing out there? Uber-diverse drummer Jeremy Gustin of Rubblebucket, star Rover, and who's also worked with Albert Hammond Jr. and a million other groups and artists, is today's guest. And we get into everything from his classical music upbringing and how he gravitated towards the drums, studying at both Berkley and in West Africa with Ghana drum shamans, which is an awesome story, as one might expect, as well as some of the interesting places he's toured and a little info on the myriad projects he's immersed in. Shout out to my sponsor, New Orleans Record Press. If you're looking at releasing vinyl, go on over to NewOrleansRecordPress.com to check out packaging, mastering, electroplating, lacquer cutting options, as well as real-time quote generator. And they print both 12 and 7-inch records in both 150 and 180 gram variants. And no shortage of ridiculously beautiful vinyl coloring options as well. You need assistance with design or have further questions? Give them a holler. And that's NewOrleansRecordPress.com. Crash Bang Boom podcast is now available on Google Play, as well as my SoundCloud, iTunes podcast, as well as my YouTube page, Stitcher, and more. Check out my Instagram and Facebook pages and give me a like, subscription, one of those reviews that says something to the effect of, hands down, the greatest drumming podcast out there. That's all I'm saying. And, you're saying, assuming you say that in the same way that I said it and say it for me, the way I just said it. So here we go. Jeremy Gustin, Crash Bang Boom.
Crowds go mad with joy.
All right, Jeremy Gustin, no shortage of bands, no shortage of cool projects. We'll get to talk about all that stuff today. How's it going, man?
It's good. Yeah, it's really good.
Man, I'm digging your place here. For those listening, we're in Bushwick, in an industrial section of Bushwick, and you were the second person that I've spoken to this week that somehow lucked out in staying at the apartment that you originally moved to in New York and having the ability to practice drums somehow.
Yeah. It's a dream. Yeah. I don't find myself practicing on these drums as much as just like rehearsing, learning tunes, stuff like that. Yeah.
Right.
Every once in a while I think about practicing, but it's mostly I don't have time. It's like I have to like learn a bunch of tunes. So it's more like I get on the drums, put on headphones, and making notes and like figuring out parts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I guess that's practicing. Maybe that is
practicing. Yeah. It's not rudimental drumming specific practicing per se, but just running tunes.
Totally.
How many bands are you presently playing with on and off?
I mean, I could start listing bands. I don't know the actual number.
So it's that many.
It's a lot, yeah.
That's wild, man. How long have you been in New York?
This is 10th year, I think.
Yeah, I'm going on 13 this year.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
We're kind of New Yorkers.
Yeah, I guess so, right? Where are you originally from?
A Boston area.
Okay, so you're a Northeast guy.
Totally.
So you're accustomed to this frigid fucking winter bullshit.
I'm all about it. It's fine. Just wear long johns, nice socks,
Yeah.
coat, read more books, write more. It's great. Spring will come and you'll be extra happy.
You've got it figured out. I don't feel the same about it. I'm over it. Okay. And here I am saying this, and somehow it's magically 50 degrees today, and you could walk outside.
Yeah, I took a long walk today through I was telling you, Sunday is a special day in Bushwick because it's empty and quiet, and walking into like the insane industrial wasteland is really fun when it's like completely calm. And
yeah, man. Well, congrats on the Rubblebucket show recently at Brooklyn Steel. I know that was a sold-out show. It looked like it was a great show. I wasn't able to see it, but I had friends that went and said it was great.
Okay, too bad. Yeah, it was really, really fun. It was a big moment for Rubblebucket. They've been at it a long time. They haven't had it like incredibly easy. They've always had amazing fans, but it wasn't like they ever had this crazy break. And it's like they've been at it and slowly building up this fan base, and selling out Brooklyn Steel was a big moment. And
that's awesome.
We're feeling confident and excited to keep moving.
Is part of that due to the Sun Machine record, do you think?
I think it is. Yeah. I think the record is resonating with people, and people are really enjoying it and coming out. I think more and more people are noticing it. Actually, last night I played a fun show last night with It's guitar player Dave Harrington's project with Nels Klein too.
Nels is fucking awesome.
Yeah,
really? You played with Nels?
Yeah, we had an insane show last night.
Wow, yeah, he's an incredible player.
But I was walking out and this guy was like, "Wait, "You're in Rubblebucket. I was at that show," because he came to see Diet Sig and was blown away by Rubblebucket, who he'd never heard, and now he's been listening to Sun Machine all week. So,
Wow.
so that was cool.
That's super cool, man. Well, tell me a little bit about recording drums on the Sun Machine record. It's a great sounding record. Rubblebucket has had a history of pretty cool, interesting, mixed, etc. sonic things happening. But tell me a little bit about recording it, because I feel like in that stuff you wear, or you're playing a good bit of sort of really kind of deadened drums, I would say. That seems to be part of like the electronic.
Yeah, right. I like dead drums.
Yeah.
That's what I typically want. It's funny, I think about that because a beautiful ringing drum is definitely pleasant. And I think one of the reasons I stopped doing that was just the nature of playing so many shitty backline drum kits every night. It's not going to sound good if it's ringy. Right. Because it's a shitty drum, but you put a towel on it, you're like, oh, that sounds pretty good. Right. And I think I just got accustomed to muting it and knowing how to tune around muting stuff, and now it's just part of my sound. Yeah. That being said, on the Rubblebucket record, there was 2 rooms that we recorded drums. One was a big room. I mean, there was room mics and close miking, so you can mix it accordingly. Right. But we also did some tracking. I think 2 songs in a really small room with just a couple mics. Nice. I know that Annihilation song was one of those. Maybe Lemonade too. But, yeah. Yeah, definitely got that sort of consolidated and real deadened drum sound. But I think that's also a byproduct of sort of reverse engineering electronic music, I think. Because I've been working on a solo record, and one of the things that I found when I tracked live drums and juxtaposed them with the MIDI drums that were on there was you would hear the second that the room mics came in, it was like, oh, there's all this atmosphere. There's this breath in it. Yeah. And I was like, oh, we have to actually take that down now because the contrast is too much. Yeah. So I think it is a bit of a byproduct of that as well. And that Rubblebucket is, got it. I mean, how would I even describe that band? I think I would probably go with upbeat, like indie dance rock, horn laden, upbeat indie dance rock. Yeah, that sounds good. That's an amalgamation of enough subgenres that, when people ask you, how would you describe it? For whatever reason, you said rock, which is cool. We definitely rock. I think I see more like arty dance pop. Like that's true. Talking headsy, but with an amazing female vocalist that plays baritone. Right. It's definitely arty, but it's definitely poppy. I mean, they're really well crafted songs, a bit hooky melodies, and stuff great production. Yeah, I don't know, something like that. I have a hard time describing the music that I play in general. Yeah. How did you get hooked up with them in the first place? Well, they were in Boston when I was in Boston. And yeah, we were just part of the scene there. I was playing around in a lot of bands. I had my own band at the time. And yeah, we opened for Rubblebucket sometimes. One of their old guitar players ended up living with me and joining my band. And yeah, they were just these guys, and I mean, I always remember it seemed like Rubblebucket was doing pretty well even back then. They were not a lot of my friends were on tours playing shows to 300 people or something, which they were doing for many years. Yeah. And they were actually touring around the country, which I hadn't done at all at that point. So I was kind of like, wow, they're making something happen. Cool. And Alex just always seemed like such a sponge. He was always like, what are you listening to? Oh my God, I got to check that out. And blah, blah. He was always running around trying to figure everything out. And yeah, it just seemed like it was possible that that band was going to do some shit. Nice. Yeah. So then that was that. Yeah, we just became friends, and everybody's in different other side projects. Right. We played together a lot, and he's come and see me play in tons of bands, and vice versa. And yeah, then all of a sudden I was playing. Actually, the first time I played with him is kind of a crazy story. This was probably 7 or 8 years ago. I was playing with a band called Delicate Steve at this festival called High Sierra Music Festival. I had been out partying late night at this beautiful festival in the mountains in the summer, as one might do. And I get a call at 5 or 6 in the morning, and I see it's Alex. And I kind of remember looking at my phone and being like, why? No. And I just didn't pick up. And and then there was a message. So I listened to it. It was like, Jeremy, Dave missed the flight. We need you to play with Rubblebucket tonight if you can do it. Blah, blah. We're all jumping on the plane right now. And I just had this moment kind of is that what I want to do? Because I didn't know any of I've never played their music before, ever. So it's kind of is that how I want to spend my day? And I was just okay, let's do this. So I called him back, and then ended up in the festival manager or whatever's office all day just charting at Rubblebucket. And that night at 8 o'clock, I played like a headline festival.
Really?
Rubblebucket.
Whoa.
I've never played with them ever before. It was kind of one of those crazy things. And the bass player helped a lot with cueing and stuff. But
Wow.
yeah.
Damn, dude. Talk about last minute.
Yeah.
And on the tail end of partying, no less.
Yeah. It's one of those things. But, sometimes in music, like, you get this crazy opportunity, and it's not ideal in a lot of ways, but it's kind of like, am I going to do this or not? And, like, I feel like I usually want to just go for it.
Go for it.
If you fuck something up, you're like, well, I only had a day to prepare. Fuck you.
If there was ever an excuse to have, you have one.
Yeah.
That's funny, man. I had a similar situation only in a last-minute gig coming in off of a hellacious party storm around Jazz Fest time in New Orleans. Buddy of mine, we just went out all night, stayed up till the sun was already up at that point, partying our asses off, and I got a call to sub in on a gig that night, and it was just like, I sucked, man. I thought I could pull through. I did what we were talking about. I'm going to go for it. I got this. And there was 2 sets, and the first set was I was just sweating all of the sins of the previous night out, and it just felt horrible. Second set redeemed myself somewhat. First set, a bit of a disaster.
These are growing experiences. I think you did the right thing.
Yeah, man. Well, tell me a little bit about drumming wise. Where did you start? How'd you end up finding the instrument? Why the drums?
Let's see. Okay, so I grew up in a very classical music family. A lot of people work in classical music, play classical music. I grew up playing classical woodwinds.
What instrument?
Oboe, an English horn.
Oh, dude, I love the oboe.
Oboe is an amazing instrument.
It's a rare one.
Yeah, my grandfather was a great bassoon player, so I kind of have this double reed thing going on.
Interesting. Okay.
I love classical music. I loved playing in orchestras. I was good. My sister was a clarinetist, was really good. So we were always in like the good orchestras in the state, and we were able to tour and stuff. So drumming really was like, how did that happen? I mean, I found pictures of myself as like a boy, like with like pots and pans and spoons. So like I've always naturally like
gravitated.
I don't really remember doing that, but I did it. I just
Same here.
Doing it. I think the first time I ever actually played a drum set was when I was in 7th grade. It was in the middle school auditorium, and Mr. Livingston, the music teacher, taught me. Boom, boom.
Nice. Come together.
Yeah, exactly. And my friend John was playing guitar or piano, and Eric playing guitar, and we just started, jamming on that tune. And I think it was like one of those moments. I was just like, this feels amazing. It's so fucking fun.
Yeah.
And then it was just like skipping school, playing drums all the time, skipping school and playing the drums in school.
Really?
Yeah. And yeah, I did like the talent show. We did Wipeout and Come Together, I think. I like, not like I was like a great drummer to start with or anything, but like I had a natural, like it just felt really good and natural. So after that, my parents bought me a drum set from Harry the Pizza Man.
Okay.
An old like Ringo 4-piece kit. He had all sorts of old like heavy metal cymbals from the 70s kind of. And yeah, then it just lived in my basement, and I just started playing them for fun. Like my parents would be like, "Did you practice oboe yet today?"
Right.
So I had like my oboe teacher, the orchestras, practice oboe, like specific material. Drums was like, do what you want, when you want, how you want.
Yeah.
So it was my really became this very special thing for me because I could do what I wanted or not. And my friend started coming over. We started writing songs and just jamming and just smoking weed and jamming with your friend like became this huge thing. You build up and have a crazy moment and like I just like improvisation was just like holy shit. And like I started like even sometimes improvising in orchestra like during a piece.
Oh yeah, not so much the environment for improvisation.
No, so and I was getting into a lot of more unusual music that had some improvisational aspects to it. And I don't know, I just started getting really excited about drums. And by the time high school was a weird crazy time for me in all sorts of ways, and some different things happened that ended up me I don't know, basically just focusing more on drums than oboe. And then by the time high school was over, I just like knew I was going to go to Berkeley. I didn't even apply anywhere else. I lived in Boston near Berkeley. I'd walk past Berkeley going to my dad's office, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'm going to go there. And I never had one drum lesson. I just went and auditioned and got in.
Really?
Yeah, and they like basically gave me I didn't know, like they were like play this rudiment, play this screw. And I was like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is.
Are you serious? And you still got in?
Well, they gave me a provisional acceptance. They were like, could tell that I had some talent, but I really royally fucked up high school, and I had never had a drum lesson. So they're like, take classes at UMass Boston or some community college. So you can prove that you can go to school, and get, pass a class, and take drum lessons for a semester, so you can get some fundamentals, and then transfer those credits and come back.
Yeah.
So I went to Berkeley, studied there for 4 years, got some of the basic stuff together, worked my ass off through like that book Syncopation, stuff like that, got a lot of coordination things that I think has been really helpful. And then after Berkeley, I went to Ghana. And I studied in villages with some like master drummers there, which was
no way,
was a
really?
really insane experience.
How long were you there for?
3 months.
Whoa.
And then after that, I started my own band, and I started playing in tons of different bands around Boston, and just became a really working, busy ass drummer in Boston, playing like every single bar in the square mile every single night.
Right.
And it was just like a local drummer, and I did that for 5 years. Sometimes I'd, play around New England with this reggae band I was into, but I really was not doing touring or recording, but I was happy, and I was being like pushed by all these amazing musicians I was playing with. And then, once I was 27, I was like, maybe I should just try New York. Like, I should just see what happens. And if it doesn't work, I'll come back to Boston.
Right.
And it was like I came to New York, and it's like, I'm never going back to Boston again.
Right.
And I was like immediately touring and, recording and being like getting to meet and play with some of my favorite musicians in the world.
To revert back to a second, the Ghana trip.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Tell me a little bit more about that experience and what you learned in being there, both about drums and life. Okay. Because I would imagine that was a multifaceted experience.
It was heavy because I was learning about the Ghanaian drumming in Ghana.
Right.
This is after being at Berkeley, where you'd learned about like Afro-Cuban Lab 3 with some, white guy in a classroom or something.
Yeah.
So very different environment.
Yeah.
But I picked Ghana because actually, it's funny. It was like I knew I'd been working at this camera shop, saving money. I was done with college. I just knew that this was a time I could do some trip.
Yeah.
And I had read this book about Australia, actually, Aborigines in Australia, and it was so fascinating. I wanted to like live with Aborigines, and that was like my initial and like studied their music.
Yeah.
And I looked into like the Aboriginal drumming, and even though they have some really interesting music and the didgeridoo is really cool, the drumming is like very simple and basic.
Yeah.
So I literally in my head I was like, like where's other good rhythm stuff? And I was like, oh, West Africa. And then there was this professor at Berkeley named Joe Galeotto, who I didn't ever study with, but I just went and talked to, and I was like, he's married to a Ghanaian, he knows all about Ghanaian drumming, and asked him some recommendations, and he had some really good advice, and he knew this village called Kopaia. And there's like a drum school there basically, and he said like I contact these people, and they'll pick you up from the airport, and like basically you can start your trip there. It's a really safe, awesome village with incredible drummers.
Wow. So
I contacted them, and I did this trip with my friend Rex. We had a band together called the Rex Complex.
Nice.
Although it hadn't started yet. It started after Ghana. But we weren't on a program or anything, so we just went, ended up in this village. It's like a whole drum family. The dog bays are there, and just started this training of Awe drum. It's like Awe drumming. It's the style which is stick drumming. And it's really fucking cool shit.
I bet.
And so you just have a regimented it started like you're like paying them and have classes throughout the day, but then you become really close to them. They're like, especially a couple of them, these like master drummers were like big drinkers. They loved Akpateshi, this crazy strong, kept in a gasoline tank. Oh. So it ended up being just like they became like really close friends. We'd be just like drinking and drumming all day and night, basically. In that village, yeah. And
that is so wild.
And then the trip went all these different directions, and I ended up Rex ended up hanging more in the north, studying xylophone music, and I went back to Kopaia, but we also spent a bunch of time in different villages and studying with other drummers too. And Yeah, I mean, man, it was a heavy experience. Like I said, culturally being in the place where the rhythms are from, and hearing them, and also seeing like the chicken walking a certain way, or seeing a 2-year-old kid like dance his ass off, and I got to perform at some weddings and some funerals and stuff. Like I had this. I'd never done anything like that. I'd never been anywhere like that, so it was heavy. And I would say, 3 months is not even close enough time to get like deep into this stuff.
Yeah.
I got a little bit, but I would think the way that it really affected me is that, like, in some ways with drumming, you can play a groove and then you can play some crazy fill and then go back to the groove or something like that, which is like, there's a place for that and that can be fucking awesome. But like, the thing with the African music is like, or the Awe music in general is like, there'll be like 3 to 7 people playing or something. Besides like the master drummer who gets to do the fancy stuff here and there, it's just all these interlocking parts. Like, and like when you break them down, a part's just like, it's like that or something like that. But where that fits inside the other rhythm is like fucking crazy. You're like, where's the one? And they don't even have a concept of one in Ghana. It's like,
wow.
When they're like, they don't know how to count off a tune. They're like, so they'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then start it in a different place. They try to count it out for me. Like they end stuff in a really weird way. It's like
There's no numeric attachment. It's just pulse, and
you just start kind of playing, and then you kind of stop at some point.
Wow.
Yeah. So, anyways, that really influenced me. The idea of like, instead of playing some fast or cool creative fill after you're playing a groove for 8 bars or whatever, like, just think of like simple rhythmic counterpoint that goes against something else. And when you can come up with these kind of things, just keep them going and have these like interlocking things. And that's like made a big influence on me.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Wow. So stylistically affected you and your application to the drum set and coming back with that. And I would imagine from just a cultural perspective, you saw some pretty heavy shit there as well. I know, like,
sure did.
Africa and India, you know,
when
people talk about poverty,
India.
it's like,
I just toured India. I just got back 2 weeks ago.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
How was India?
India was incredible, man. Holy shit.
How long were you in India for?
2.5 weeks. I had been touring in Japan and China before that.
Okay.
And then made this India thing happen. I'm so lucky. It's crazy. So basically, I was playing drums and recording with Albert Hammond Jr. for a couple records, and we toured the world a couple times together. And this guy, Hamar, was in that band with me. And
okay.
Hamar is an amazing guitar player, singer, writer. He has his own project called Exhibition that I'm also in. We made a record. And Hamar, he was in New York forever, but he moved to Berlin briefly, and then he's back in India, in the northeast part of India, helping his parents' business and like developing this restaurant and like doing some stuff in between doing music stuff. Anyways, basically, I called him and was like, I'm going to be in Japan and China on this tour. Like, we're not that far. Like, is there any way we can do anything in India? I'd love to see India. And one thing led to another, and he just like, all this shit came together. And I ended up playing in his band, playing with these Indian drummers.
Whoa.
And the band that I was touring with, he helped book us shows in like 3 different Indian cities, and we had this whole crazy experience.
Whoa.
Played the festival there.
So you went from Japan to India.
Japan, China, Singapore, India, and then all over. I mean, I was in Calcutta, I was in Mumbai, I was in Bangalore, I was in Shillong, which is where Hamar's from.
Yeah.
Really interesting part of India, like in the northeast, like by Nepal, like way up by the Himalayas, and the food is like nothing I've ever experienced, and really beautiful, awesome people.
Damn, dude.
It was crazy, yeah.
What a fucking whirlwind.
I know, and it's wild too, because like this is similar to with being in Ghana. Like, I was there playing with a singer-songwriter in Japan and China and in India, and like it's like for them like playing like I don't know, singer-songwriter music from like New York is like this exotic, amazing
Which
thing.
is hilarious, right?
Yeah, it's like, that's not exotic, you're exotic, but like it's like this mutual
relative, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember feeling that in Ghana too, just like that we were exotic and interested in each other, because we're just live in very different worlds, and there's something really beautiful about that kind of connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Japan. What is your impression? I've never been.
Oh man, I've been there quite a few times on tour. I love Japan.
Everyone that has gone really loves it.
Yeah, well, they really love music.
Yeah.
And they really respect musicians and treat you really well there.
Yeah.
I love Japanese people. I have a lot of good friends now in Tokyo, and Yeah, I mean this last trip was really quick. We were playing the Blue Note for 2 nights. We got there the night before, so it was just 3 nights in Tokyo, and then we were off. But it's great. I mean, the food's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a huge city. I mean, it's like, puts New York to shame.
Wow.
It's wild. It's a different world. Japan's a really interesting place. Very strange and very fun. And yeah, it's an interesting,
Another
it's
world.
a really interesting culture. Yeah, because it's very influenced by the West in
Yeah.
a lot of ways.
For sure.
But it's also really really different.
Yeah, 100. Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
wild. Well, you mentioned Albert Hammond Jr., and every time I say his name, in my mind, I picture an old black man who plays blues. So it's every time I say his name, I'm like, is that his name? That's not his name. But
That's funny. I've never thought about that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it just doesn't match the face in my mind.
Right.
But you mentioned playing with him. How did you end up hooking up with him, man?
So actually, through this guy Mikey Freedom Heart, who's actually from New Orleans or
Really?
around there too, who's now with this band Blood Orange, and he does a bunch of different stuff. But he was with
Cool.
Albert first, and yeah, I mean, they had some drummer situation that they needed a new drummer, and I got Mikey and Hamar was in the band at the time. They just asked all their drummer friends to audition. So it was one of the few gigs I've ever done in my life, which was like audition. Like I had never met Albert. I had to show up. I had to learn like fucking, I don't know, 30 songs. That was a lot. And within the line of drummers, some of them being my good friends. and,
Really?
like, audition.
Damn.
But I got it. So that's how it happened. The classic audition and then getting the job situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, it was a really good experience. Doing the rock thing and making these records with him and touring.
Yeah, he loves that very like kind of boxy, angular style of drumming. From I feel like the Strokes had that, and then like the stuff that I've heard that you played on in particular, it's kind of like this. I guess it varies, but that I don't know. I think that must be something that he's into. It seems.
Yeah. It was a good balance of him influencing me and vice versa with the kind of drummer I am and the kind of stuff that he likes. It's really fun for me. It's one of the reasons I like working with so many different kinds of people is the process of figuring out how to make the singer happy and also find some like creative you in the music is just a really creative, fun challenge for me. And that was
Definitely
the case
finding
with
the
Albert.
balance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then I know you got this other project, Star Rover.
Yeah.
I was looking at that, and y'all did a song with one of the vocalists from Grizzly Bear, right?
Yeah.
So my Grizzly Bear story is I knew of them, hadn't really heard them, I feel like, and I went to Seattle, and weed is legal there.
Yeah.
And I got super fucking high and walked by this like super fancy like audio store, like audio stereo equipment and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder what this $10,000-$15,000, just speakers and stuff. So I went in there, and he put on the Grizzly Bear record, and I was listening to it, and I was like, well, one, I'm super high, so just about anything would sound good right now. Two, I'm pretty sure that stereo also sounds incredible.
Yeah.
But three, if I took me being high and the incredible stereo out of the mix, I'm pretty sure that this record would still sound totally badass. And then I revisited it later. I was like, oh yeah, this is just it was the Painted Ruins record.
Oh, nice.
And I was listening to that. So I've been a fan and actually saw them at Brooklyn Steel the last time they came through.
Oh, cool.
And was totally blown away by them, specifically their voices and their harmonies.
Beautiful,
and how they can pull off everything that you hear on that record. Both sonically with their instruments and everything, they really match the vibe of it.
Yeah.
And then they nail all those vocal parts.
They're really great musicians. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, wild arrangements.
It's crazy. But tell me a little bit about Star Rover.
Star Rover is a duo with myself and this guitar player, Will Grafe.
Yeah.
And the band started a while ago more as like an excuse to like deconstruct John Fahey music. That's what our first record is. Do you know who John Fahey is?
I don't.
He's a really fascinating musician and guitar player. He's not around anymore, but just had this finger picking style that was really unusual and really beautiful. And I really loved it. Will really loved it, and we started like making versions of these John Fahey songs, and that was our first record.
Huh.
And and I don't know, like we weren't even like trying to play shows. We were just spending all this time figuring out how to do a duo of these tunes and how to make a really full sound and have kind of like through composed music and improvised music kind of be kind of mysterious and not really know what's what for the listener, I think. And Yeah, we developed this language and made that record, and then we just got really busy playing in other bands, so because both Will and I are both sidemen in a lot of different projects, so it's been hard to like move fast to that band. And we slowly worked on the second record that just came out a few months ago, which is totally different than the first record. And they're totally different types of songs. A lot of them that I wrote, some that Will wrote, and more produced sounding. And there's some guests like Daniel Rawson and actually Mikey Freedom Hearts on it, and Sarah Pettinati from Lip Talk, all sorts of awesome musicians. And I don't know. We're playing this week. If you're around, we're playing New Blue on Thursday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Should be cool.
Fucking A.
And and now we're working on. Well, we have another record that's done with this Brazilian musician Ricardo Dias Gomes, who's amazing.
Okay.
That's hopefully going to come out this spring. In the summer, we're working on the next record, which is going to be totally different. I think our records are always just going to be totally different from the last.
Hey, man, go for it.
Yeah. But it's a really fun project, and it's a really fun challenge to kind of figure out how to make music work as a duo with the influences that Will and I have.
Fingers approaching, forgotten on the lawn, the fog of my day, 10 mile water, this side of life will take its toll.
I haven't been in New York now for 10 years, like you were saying. Do you have any particular drummers in the city that you try to check out when they're playing, or when you're even in town or whatever?
Right. Sure.
There's so many. It's
There's
just
so
it's
many,
outrageous.
Yeah. Well, actually, last night I got to play with one of my favorite drummers. He was playing percussion at the show. It was just Kenny Wallison.
Okay.
Do you know Kenny?
I don't think so.
Man, he's such a badass. He's a beautiful person. So I'd say Kenny. But people like a lot of people have been moving to L.A.
Really?
Yeah.
Has that been happening?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you still got the JoJo Mayer, Mark Juliana, Nate Wood, Cliff Allman.
JoJo Mayer's last record is my photograph on the cover.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's a really cool photo. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's mine.
Right on.
Yeah. Yeah, I have this photo project that's been going on for years now, and a lot of different people have used them for album covers and prints and stuff like that. And I've never even met JoJo Mayer, but the keyboard player, who used to play with Rubblebucket too,
Oh, nice.
hooked me up with that and showed him the photo.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I've never even seen JoJo.
Oh, really?
And I've never
Whoa.
seen Mark Giuliani. I'm kind of
Oh, my
God. I mean, they're amazing drummers, but I'm not really drawn typically to like see crazy like drummers with crazy chops that
Yeah.
much. It's not like I don't like it, but I just
Yeah.
don't like seek it out so
Uh-huh.
much. I'm sure if I saw them, there'd be a lot of amazing stuff.
Oh, yeah. I can assure you.
Yeah. I'm trying to. It's funny. It's like, who am I seeing in New York that I love for drums?
Or even, even on tour, are there any particular drummers or just projects or bands in general that you really became a fan of having seen them?
I mean, have you seen Greg Saunier from Deerhoof?
No.
Okay. Greg is a fucking force. He's amazing.
Really?
Yeah. I love watching Greg and hearing him play. He's like a really, he's special in that he has great chops and a really interesting way of hearing music. In almost in the sense that you'd think he's like a complete freak, experimental weirdo.
Yeah.
But his sense of groove is like, he sounds like John Bonham, but he's
Really?
doing some crazy shit, and he's in a really weird band called Deerhoof that's more like experimental
Right.
pop.
Deerhoof's a weird one, yeah. They're cool, though.
Yeah, his drumming in that band just blows my mind. That
Right
band
on.
blows my mind.
Yeah.
They're so great. But yeah, he's a drummer that I'm always excited about. I don't know, it's funny. I'm like a bad drummer, I think, in the sense that I don't know what other drummers are doing around.
Dude, it's funny when you mentioned Bonham last night. I came home after a night out on my Rager weekend that this has turned into. Hence my raspiness and fairly non-working brain right now. But last night before I went to bed, I threw on When the Levee Breaks, and I have an old, I think, original copy of the Led Zeppelin 4, and threw that on and was just listening to that. It's like, God damn it, man, these drums, it's just ridiculous. It doesn't matter how many times I hear it. It's always ridiculous.
He's an absolute, he's one of the best. Actually, so there was this band Delicate Steve that I toured with for a while. there was a couple Halloweens where we did this thing. What do we even call it? There's some pun, but basically we played Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
With this amazing singer Martin, but it was the band Delegate Steve doing it. And like I love Led Zeppelin, but like a lot of drummers that I love, I can't sound like them
Right.
for shit. I can't even almost sound like any of them. You know, like I'm just not that kind of drummer. Like my thing is like more like I try to figure out what somebody's doing, do it wrong, and figure out my own way to do it. That's kind of like my life basically.
Yeah.
So, but like we're playing like big shows somewhat, and I have to like play like the Bonham beats.
Yeah.
It was like almost not a good experience. It's kind of like I'm going into this being like, all I'm gonna do is disappoint people and sound worse than John.
Right. That bar, it's a crazy bar to have set. For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. But it was a good experience to kind of try to learn those beats. But man, I can't pull them off. Like some people.
I've been in 2 Zeppelin like semi-tribute things, and going back and listening to it, I'm like, well, I definitely played it like me, because there's just, like you said, I just can't. Bonham.
Some people
was
can
so
do
Bonham.
that kind of thing.
And I even have Vista lights, like you know, and you, so you can sort of get the sound, but his groove, everything about it, it's Bonham.
Yeah,
it's
super
crazy. Well, 2019, man, I know Rubblebucket has some shows coming up, a string of shows. Where y'all going, and how long you out for?
Let's see. We're doing like a month probably around the U.S. This is kind of it's kind of weird actually, but we just did a U.S. tour, but we did like the major markets. So this tour is, I guess, like the B markets or something, you know, like the Boise and Omaha maybe or something like that. Actually, I don't even know where we're going.
Yeah.
I know we're going to Florida, which is a place I've never played before. No one ever books shows in Florida, but so I saw that on the itinerary. I was like, wow, finally playing.
Do you know where
Florida.
y'all are playing in Florida?
No.
Okay.
Not even sure the city.
Okay. Yeah,
I could look
probably
into the
South
details.
Florida, I would imagine. But who knows? I mean, having grown up in Louisiana, every summer we went to Florida. That was just like, oh, we're going to the beach, we're going to Florida.
Right.
And the panhandle right there, you know, and it's you got to drive through Mississippi and Alabama to get there. And then you got Georgia kind of sitting up above the panhandle there. And Florida's a weird state. It's a different brand of rednecks.
Yeah. I've been to Florida. I just, no one ever books shows there. I think it's because it's not easy with routing.
Right.
When you go down, then you like waste a bunch of time coming back.
Exactly.
Like, the same way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know we're playing Florida.
Nice. you know that much.
But we're
There's
going
a
all the
first
way.
for
I mean,
you.
we're going all the way to the West Coast. We're doing the whole.
Right.
We're doing the whole loop.
Awesome, man.
That's in March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Right on. Well, is there anything else going on in 2019 you're especially looking forward to? Any particular releases or projects?
A ton.
A ton?
Yeah.
I can't even remember.
I'm working on a bunch of records and some stuff with somebody in Brazil. I think I'm going to take you down there in the spring.
Awesome.
And this new Star Rover record. I've just finished another. I made a solo record called the which is actually not. There's like no drumming on the first. I mean, no like live drum set playing. It's more like sample electronic kind of stuff. Came out last year. And I worked on a new one of those that'll be coming out at some point.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean a lot of touring stuff, a lot of recording stuff. But a lot of the nature of my life is that there's all these things, and I'm just like figuring out how they're all going to work all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure when, where, how.
Yeah.
But there's things happening.
As you said earlier, just got to go for it.
Yeah.
Right on. Cool, man. Well, Jeremy, it was good talking to you, man. Enjoy your Sunday. Got to go try to get some sun and enjoy the fact that it's 50 degrees before it turns into sub-zero temperatures.
Is that happening again?
It seems like it.
Probably should. Probably.
Yeah.
February.
Yeah. But it was good talking to you, man. Have a good
too.
2019, and we'll
you.
catch up soon.
Sounds good.
Yeah, man. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and thanks, Jeremy, for hanging and yapping. Be on the lookout for his many projects. Dude is a creative force. Also, check out his Instagram, which is super cool, too. Dude's doing some good stuff out there. So we'll catch you all in the next one. Crash, bang, boom.